So I wanted to talk about one of my favorite things: practice, 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 and practice some more. So somehow I was looking over. It's I guess I wrote this in 2020, and it was about practicing, and I wrote it in a blog format. But in any event, though, I was at the time I was sitting in a parking lot of a hockey rink when my son was practicing, and he was a very very focused, dedicated athlete. And like any parent, especially in New England, I was taking my son all over the place, all these different rinks. And I always carried a guitar in my car. So I've always had some small guitar, old guitar or something. And I would strum along and do all sorts of things in practice. And I was thinking about how young athletes and kids practice and how they're so focused. And I always end these videos with practice, practice, and practice some more. But at some point, somebody has to teach you how to practice. And you have to learn something from that, but then you also have to develop something that is very unique and personalized to you. Okay. Um, I've been watching a bunch of other videos and people's practice. I think the last one I saw was, who was it? Ben Monder. I think this is his name. He was talking about he would practice these lines with a metronome at I think 10 beats, 10, 20 beats per minute. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so I've been really experimenting with different ways of practicing. So I'm trying to learn the cello, and I keep the metronome at 60 beats per minute. I'm trying to do things like rather than trying to get speed, but get no really the tonality of the notes, making it as round as possible. So I'll do things like and that wasn't a good example because as I'm doing that, I hit the string right there. But the idea on practicing the scales is not about just the right note, but it's I'm trying to listen to it even on electrics, just to make sure there's an even note, even element of tone from string to string and note to note. So, for example, if I'm playing this, I want this A to be as round as possible. Whether I'm playing it with the pick, whether I'm going up or down, or if I hit it with my fingernails. So really listening. So I call that reflective practice. Basically, really listening to yourself, not really just working on technical things, but really trying to listen to the sound that's coming out of your instrument. It's a lot easier on the classical guitar and when I practice things like that because you really have to work at the tone. Electric guitar, there's a lot of stuff you can do to kind of cheat on it as far as that's concerned. So I look back at this blog that I wrote, and some of the things I talked about in the blog was um, the Malcolm Gladwell book about like, okay, so you're practicing, but you're practicing for an aim. So what's your aim? Is it to be a gigging musician, a professional, working studio musician, an academic, just a much more knowledgeable kind of like hobbyist? What is that? That's going to determine that 10,000 hours that Gladwell talks about for becoming an expert. So it's really, where do you want to go with the music and what do you want to accomplish? I'm too old to be in a conservatory and I'm not trying to be this professional musician or anything like that, but I always want to get better. But so what do I need to do that? I still think that the four things that I kind of outlined or at least talked about still hold true for me. One, learn from others, but two, make sure that it's personalized from that perspective. But in addition to those 2 points, things like I said, acknowledge the challenge. That's first to say that, well, I do need to practice. There's some people who say, man, practice sucks. I don't want to practice. And it's just all of a sudden it's going to be like osmosis. They're just going to get everything. They don't have to practice. You either know it, man, or you don't know it. And, you know, I don't think Jimi practiced. He just got no. I'm not Jimi Hendrix. I'm not gonna be Jimi Hendrix. I'm not. I don't have perfect pitch. I don't just. I don't have that musicality. I'm just that gift from that perspective. So acknowledge the challenge. Don't say you don't need to practice. Everybody does. Commit time. I do believe you have to force yourself with time. One of the things that I do, um, it's a pet peeve of mine when people tell me they don't have enough time. Everybody has the exact same number of minutes, seconds, hours in the day. Make the time. Easier said than done, but you can. For me, I'm a very, 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 very early bird and somewhat structured. So I wake up every day, 3:30 to 4 a.m. Okay, and I don't go and practice. I got my own physical routine, go exercise and things of that nature. But I'm like clockwork. So I'm not anal about it that everything is so structured. But yeah, I make time to practice and stuff. So you can find the time. And so what I found out for me is that I'm an early bird. I get a lot of stuff done. I don't have more time than somebody else because I go to bed earlier. But at the same time, because I wake up earlier, I'm able to exercise, do my work, play my guitar and hobbies, and take care of my family and home. Okay, so period. You can do it. You just have to be focused and somewhat disciplined. So commit the time and don't just cop out and say you don't have time. The other thing I talked about in that blog was about limiting the scope. Don't try to do everything all at once. Think of little bit bite-sized pieces. Like I was talking about earlier, I'm working on tone, so I think about okay. I don't want to think about tone and at the same time I'm going to work on speed, then I'm going to work on quarter notes, eighth notes, subdivisions, and all that stuff, and theory on top of that. So limit the scope. And then the last thing I said is to always have fun, right? So for me, I like to noodle, but at the same time, I like to play structured pieces. And at the end of the day, I'm playing this guitar so I can have fun. So how I started is how I like to start a lot of things with music, because that's the aim. The aim is not for me to show people all the neat scales that I know or all the little tricks. The aim of it is I want to play something that's feeling, that's beautiful, and that's nice. And so I kind of always start with that or end my practice sessions with that. And that's different than repertoire and really working out a specific piece and working on that piece. So, yeah, there you go. Practice is still very, very, very important. We all need to do it. It's got to be personalized. Yeah, and don't forget that last part. It's got to be fun. So, as usual, practice, practice, and practice some more. Thank you again for watching.